So the next panel we've got coming up, they're going to be talking about free Madeira, and they're going to be some of the characters that, if you were here before, I told the story about how André set up free Madeira, and I'll have him pronounce it in Portuguese because it is an acronym and it does mean something. It's not just, you know, free, be free, we want freedom. There is a reason it is called free Madeira. And there's a reason that these guys are part of this panel because, like I said, if you go to the Free Madeira YouTube channel, there is a great documentary of the trip that 10 to 12 of us made to come over here and talk to the different people in the office here at the government. So, do I get the thumbs up yet? Is everybody back there and ready to, yeah? You're all good? Oh, well, the first character to come on the stage, I'm sure you all know him. He's written many. I've lost count how many books he's written now. Knut Svanholm.
Hello, everyone. I've lost count too, Daniel.
Please take.
All right. We have a fantastic panel, starting with the man, the myth, the everything, André Loja.
Thank you.
And I have just backstage promised André not to dance. So, should I break my promise or not? Is that a yes? And Professor Troy Cross. And another kind of professor, Professor Pablo Fernandez. Of the Sovereign Engineering Cohort. And we also have Jeff Booth, but he's invisible at the moment. So you just have to wait for a while. Welcome, guys. Oh, I feel far away from you sitting over here. A bit intimidating. André, how are you feeling?
Feeling fine.
You feeling it?
No, feeling great. And I have to thank everyone. Of course, I'll thank. I have the closing remarks today, so that's the opportunity to thank everybody. But I'm really happy to see this crowd and how the venue went. Everybody was happy. I think it's running smoothly.
Yeah. How do you all like the conference so far? So this whole thing started in June, almost 2 years ago now. I don't know how many months that is, like 19 maybe?
Yeah, Daniel already told a little bit of the story. It's a bit crazy for me. It's a bit surreal how this all happened. I was crying a little bit on the first day. I still didn't believe that all these people were here in my island. Not only the speakers, the attendees, you know, all the amount of people that came from everywhere in the world, and I mean everywhere in the world. And it all starts with doing. I think that's the most important factor here. You know, I get asked a lot of times about entrepreneurship, and you know, I had businesses before and so on. And I kind of get upset a lot of times because people are like, oh, you know, I need this big idea or this or that. And it's all about doing, you know, just initiating action. And that makes a whole lot of difference. In 2 years, I felt I was the only Bitcoiner in Madeira. Thank you, Bitcoin Twitter, for helping me with my sanity. And 2 years later, this is happening. So I couldn't be more proud today.
I think you probably were the only Bitcoiner in Madeira at one point, but it's further back probably.
Actually, I wasn't. You know, when you put yourself out there, other stuff starts happening. People start crawling under the rocks, I guess. We just didn't know about each other, I guess. There was no connections. So that's also one of the reasons that I invite everyone, if in your own niche thing, in your own hobbies, in your own, well, go out there and give the first step. It's really, really important.
Yeah, and just so you know, André... André has been looking a bit less stressed this weekend than when all of you guys arrived almost 2 years ago.
Until about an hour and a half ago when he called me, he said, I think I screwed up on the conference. Can you join all these people right now for the last panel?
You know,
that felt stressful.
You know, I always like to be honest, so I'll get it out there. There was a serious problem. I'm not going to swear, but there was a serious problem with the last panel. But I think it worked out really well in the end. There was a glitch in the software, so none of the speakers or the moderator knew the panel was happening. But
surprise!
You know, so it's kind of like the first call I did to Daniel and Jeff, and when the president wanted to go to Miami, please help, and you're always there to help. So thank you for that.
All right. Pablo, if you don't know Pablo, he's been doing this sovereign engineering cohort here for the last 2 months, I guess. So what gave you and Gigi that idea, and how's it been going? And can you tell us a bit about that, how that idea was born?
Yeah, so sovereign engineering it was an idea that morphed very much. The initial idea was to do more like an academy where we would teach developers to write code for Bitcoin, for Nostr, for Lightning. And then we realized that we wanted to take it to the edge, take it and push it. So we said, what if we bring people that are currently Bitcoin and Nostr developers and Lightning developers, they're already doing the thing, and we put them together. I'm a big Beatles fan, and the Beatles in 1967, they did the Magical Mystery Tour, where they put a bunch of artists in a bus, and they just went for a tour and recorded. Let's see what happens. Well, let's see what kind of art is created by this mashing of all these different people. And it was a lot what we did here. We put out a call on Nostr, so there were like 200 people that saw the call, and 200 people applied to, out of their own pocket, come to Madeira for 2 months. No promises. There was nothing at the end of the rainbow, basically. And just 200 people, very, very solid people, applied. So we chose 21 people out of that cohort. And we've been working together, going on hikes together, eating meat together, and just building stuff. And it's been absolutely incredible. I'm incredibly happy with it. Absolutely exceeded our non-expectations. It completely exceeded them. But stuff that would not have been built has been being built, which was everything we wanted. So yeah, it's a program. We're going to be running another one in May, 2 months again. We have a lot of people that have applied to come, and another one again in September and October. And that's the whole idea, is how can we learn how to build stuff with the new technologies that we have. So we have Lightning, we have Bitcoin, we have Nostr, we have these freedom technologies that enable new businesses to be built, new projects to be leveraged. Instead of just going with the flow and going with the momentum of, okay, let's just put some advertisement. Okay, let's just take a cut of all the payments that go through this app. Are there different opportunities that were not possible before? Even stuff that has been tried before, but it didn't work because the building blocks weren't quite right. So Bitcoin is based partially on eCash. The idea of eCash precedes Bitcoin, but it didn't work because eCash was based on dollars. There was no underlying asset that could be transmitted as eCash. Now we have Bitcoin, so now we can build eCash. And eCash has a bunch of really interesting properties. So eCash was another very important part of the stuff that we have been building. There are all these different technologies that I think are getting their moment to shine. So yeah, it's been an absolutely insane process. Extremely emotional. There was a lot of crying. There was a lot of hugging. But yeah, I'm extremely happy with how it went.
Fantastic. Yeah, so Troy and Jeff, I'm curious as to your thoughts of what differences do you see on Madeira now as opposed to when we were here for the first time? Like, what change have you seen, Troy?
Well, when we came, yeah, the Bitcoiner community was tiny. It was a little mission. I was very lucky and consider myself very fortunate to be a part of it. Jeff invited me, and André was a gracious host. I think we have kind of a recipe here. It's not just for Madeira, but we can bring a package to a place and say, hey, if you want to embrace a coming digital monetary infrastructure and build on it, there are a community of people who are fanatical about this technology and will embrace you as well. And you know, I sort of saw that unfold as we were doing it, realizing like it's about Madeira, but it's not just about Madeira. Potentially, it's about an economic future. And it was just cool and historic, like so many things in Bitcoin, where I have these record scratch moments. Like, you might be wondering how I got here. You know, I'm not a doer. I'm a philosophy professor. We're like the opposite of doers. We just think. Everything André said is the opposite of being a college professor, right?
Are you a don'ter?
Sorry?
Are you a don'ter?
Am I a doctor? Oh, God.
No, don'ter as opposed to doer.
Oh, He's always doing this to me. He's always doing this to me. I'll say, I can't believe how much Andre's achieved and Free Madeira has achieved in this short period of time. It's incredibly impressive. There's momentum. There are actual people moving here. There's community. There's people building things. You know, the social element of Bitcoin is underestimated. That's our, you know, digital energy. We have psychic energy, and that's what's making it happen here. And I think other places should take note. I think it's going to be transformative for the island, but it's also an open possibility for other places to see. We are a resource that you can tap. Actually, our people, our movement, our technology.
Jeff?
Yeah, at first I want to step on something that Troy just said. So Troy was invited because of his humility. And if you know who he is and how much he does for this space and how much he's always done for this space and how much of a leader he is in this space and now into energy and what that is doing, you have to have Troy on your team. You have to have Troy on your team. And so when and actually I would say that about every single person on this stage. I would say that about so many other people that I know now, and it's so infectious. Gigi called me after we talked about this, and he said, "Really, what is Madeira like?" And I said, "No, it's awesome. You got to go." Pablo has become an incredible friend. Moved here, and they created something else that is creating more value for everybody else, and that's a bottom-up movement. That's happening, and honestly, all I did is listen to another friend ask for help, right? And that's all I did, and just came and said, okay, how do I help? And then all of this is happening. And it's surreal. It's totally surreal.
Yeah, I'll just have to echo that because like I thought it was so fascinating. Like, okay, I'm going to be in this amazing group of people and we're going to do something. We don't know what it is. We don't know how to do it. But it's just to start doing something. Just get into a room, start talking, start doing.
You and I'm driving my family in COVID through Europe, And I got this Twitter friend on social media named Knut, and I've never met him. And I send a note and I say, hey, where are you in Europe? And we're going to be near. And he invites me to his house. We meet his family, and it's just this brilliant connection of his family. And you knew you were going to be lifelong friends, and that's how this works.
Yeah, from my perspective, I just quit my Fiat job and moved down to our holiday home in Spain. And the first thing that happens is I get a message from Jeff fucking Booth. I'm coming over in a week. And I'm like, what the hell is this? So if I hadn't quit, if I hadn't like taken that leap of reason, I love the term leap of reason, to quit Fiat and go full on Bitcoin, that wouldn't have happened, and all the other butterfly effects. I probably wouldn't be on this stage, I'd say. Yeah, so thank you for coming to my place in Spain. And also, like when I met André, we had some talks about, like, you got the publishing rights for my books in Portuguese. That's what was how we met, and it was before all of this. And we had this. I didn't know him. He didn't know me. We had some interactions on Twitter, I believe. By the way, the first translation is finally done in Portuguese.
Yes,
Everything
available at the book corner.
I'll be there at 1. And then this Miami thing happened. And you brought the president, and I talked to Daniel, who was an old friend, and it all came together. And I was here like a month before this whole group, and you told me about this, and I'm like, dude, I'm coming back here in a month. There's no way I'm missing this, André.
But it's going back. It's on the doing part, and you do stuff. You're not just a don't doer. But it's the little small things that add up. Like Jeff was mentioning, just helping someone. That was basically it. Out of nowhere, Jeff replied as well. I was as shocked as you are at the time. And that little thing escalated into a mountain. Actually, our logo is inspired on the basalto stones of Madeira, by the way. So creating a strong structure for Madeira. Madeira is already strong, but it can be even more if we all build in the same direction. But it's the little small things that escalate, and Jeff, I have to personally thank you publicly for this. It was, I'm sorry, I'm gonna swear, it was fucking amazing. So, thank you. You replying to a simple Twitter message of this pleb in the middle of the ocean created all of this. So I really wanted to thank you publicly for that. And all the rest came following. A lot of important people helped. But again, little details, one small movement of action, and you can create a very big change.
And so if you carry forward that, there's a lot of talk today about okay, well, in my area, there's not enough people using Bitcoin, there's not enough people using Lightning. And if you understand what's happening here on this protocol, at the base layer, the protocol of essentially money or peer-to-peer internet, that base layer, store of value, enough people are understanding that, and you have a network effect that's increasing that. But network effects, that's a broad network effect around the world. And so more and more people all over the globe. But network effects are also local. And so now as a payment mechanism, if you go to if you have to take a bus to the one place that takes Lightning, you stop taking Lightning, you're not in it every day. And so that's why what Pablo and Gigi are doing and André is doing here is so critical, because it's a small enough test environment, like Bitcoin Beach, but bigger, that you can get to a critical mass that there's more and more businesses. And those businesses create so much value because more and more people come to the island and want to go to those businesses. And then those businesses aren't paying 2.5% to Visa and MasterCard. they're storing some of their economic energy in something that stays forever. And they start to understand, and they talk to more businesses. And other businesses that are losing customers to those businesses go, whoa, wait, I'm paying Visa and MasterCard to lose business to these guys? And they move, and the network effect expands and expands. And so it's easy to believe that network effect isn't happening if you're in your region and you don't see businesses everywhere. But I can tell you by visiting these regions all over, they're pockets, and those pockets are now connecting with each other. And it's happening faster and faster. And that momentum will speed up and it'll happen faster and faster because it's based on a network effect that is so powerful. And it just keeps on going. Like we've had 1,200% growth in the Lightning Network in the last 2 years. And there's people saying it's dead. Like it's growing faster than the internet. I use it every day. And there's people that are saying it's dead. It's crazy. And so what can you do? If you know businesses, if you can build little local communities in your area, every single person can start right now. And get one person, two people, three. And once that starts to do, more Bitcoiners will move there and show up and give their business to those businesses.
Yeah, it's interesting. Matt Odell always talks a lot about the power of the meetups. This is kind of like a meetup that not requires a stadium to hold all the people that visit the meetup. It's absolute insanity. And what you were saying, Jeff, the reason I first heard of Madeira and what was happening, the first thing that caught my eye, I was listening to John Bally's. You were on the podcast, André, and Rob from A Place to Be were on the podcast. And I'm very much into unschooling and world schooling. It's something that I'm very passionate about. I think it's kind of like another part of freedom of Bitcoin. And I heard that this A Place to Be project was being started here in Madeira. And that immediately, I was with my family in Vietnam. 2 weeks later, we were here checking it out, and it's very much a lot of the reason why I ended up coming here. You have like these few people that get together, and what you're saying is a network effect, a local network effect that starts attracting and attracting and attracting more people. And I see new Bitcoiners coming in. We have a very strong community of local Bitcoiners here, incredible people, and the value of surrounding yourself with value-aligned people. It's a hack to life. It's like the easiest way you can improve your life is just surround yourself with the people that share the same values.
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, all owning a Bitcoin is keeping a secret from someone. Like a private key is hidden away from other people. That's how you own the Bitcoin. So they're in your head, which means they are a part of you. We're all part of the same organism. Like we are the flip side of the coin. Bitcoiners and Bitcoins are two sides of the same coin. I mean, the blockchain, the time chain, that's the base layer, but we are the based layer. That's how this works. And that means that whenever we help one another do stuff, we help Bitcoin. We help other Bitcoiners, we help Bitcoin. We help Bitcoin, we help other Bitcoiners.
We help the world heal.
We help the world. We help everyone. At the end of the day, this is like that's why that's where we're all sitting here, because we're mind blown by this. We had this all along. Like humans could just be awesome to one another, and everything's fine. And this is, at least that's why I'm here. And I'm just seeing it play out in real time and feeling this. Free Madeira is a perfect example of that playing out in real time. I think that's, yeah. I'm just so happy to be here. You wouldn't know. I'm gonna cry.
No. And I'm so happy that you're all here. And going back to Free Madeira, you know, we were very much focused on the conference, of course, for the last few months because this is such an overwhelming thing, and our first experience at it. Although with some minor glitches, I think everyone's happy. It worked well. This special meetup worked really well. The big goal of Free Madeira is, of course, now to increase the like-minded individuals here within our community to keep building. As you put it so brilliantly, that's where the unexpected stuff blows out into the stars. And I'm really, really happy to be a part of the project as well, the sovereign engineering project. I think many others will come through. After this conference is over, and after I'll probably hibernate for 3 days or 4, but after that, the Free Madeira will continue, of course. We'll refocus on our yearly goals and projects. A lot based on education, of course, which is still lacking a lot here in Madeira. Yesterday I was a bit depressed seeing some comments on the local newspaper, so we have a lot of work to do there. But it is what it is now, and you have to pull the like-minded people and the ones who can see what you're trying to do and help you instead of pushing you down, to create, which is the great goal of all of this, a better Madeira for my kids. I have 4 of them, so I really want them to do good, and it starts with your community, and I couldn't be more happy right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's important to emphasize that even though Bitcoin Atlantis is like the culmination of what we started with Free Madeira 1.5 years ago, this is not it's a culmination, but it's also a beginning. It doesn't end here. We want more sovereign engineering cohorts. We want more Bitcoiners in Madeira. We want more retailers and restaurants and hairdressers and whatnot to accept Bitcoin. We want this to go on.
We want a better Madeira. We want to increase the value. We want more people, more businesses, more, we want high-value stuff here.
We want hyper-Bitcoinization.
It was actually, in the beginning, when the president went to Miami, he understood, especially after COVID, that Madeira cannot be only dependent on the tourism sector. That was one of the goals, to increase the tech sector and the startups and, embrace people and businesses in Madeira. And I fully understand. So Bitcoin as an open source technology is just an arm of an extension of that goal. And I fully agree. So, of course, in my own niche, I'm doing the best I can. And Bitcoin touches everything, as we know. There's actually a tweet from you that I will never forget. That you said something like, I'm not quoting exactly, but something like, the protocol, understanding the protocol of Bitcoin is simple, but understanding how powerful it is, it's very complex, because you basically have to understand how the world works. Something like this. And going on that, Troy, the energy part is one of the things that I would really like to see a lot more explored in Madeira. We are an isolated island in the middle of nowhere, a closed grid, with all the goals that Europe and Portugal has in terms of sustainability and so forth. And I think we have a long way to go and a lot of conversations to do, but I think we can do much better if the stakeholders, the people who decide on that area, understand this better.
Yeah. Can I say something quick?
Absolutely.
Yeah, the education piece is ongoing, and it's very hard because this is transformative technology. It's disruptive, and people don't want to be disrupted. And they also have misunderstood it for a long time and have now anchored. So we are in a really hard but also special place, all of us. Having seen something that most people have not seen, and having a challenge of communicating it. And we do it all the time and every day through everything we do. And this opportunity, André, when you brought us here, it was first and foremost educational. And Jeff is an incredible educator. Some of it's like learning how to communicate people who don't see things your way from Jeff. But I think as a team, we had an opportunity, and we just got to meet people where they were, and it's a long process. On the energy front, it's really a unique situation here. We are an island, Madeira. The island is 70% powered by thermal generation, where fossil fuels are shipped in from the Middle East. But also, there's really ambitious targets by the EU, by Portugal, and by Madeira for integrating renewable energy on this grid. And they have increased the percentage of renewable dramatically. I've reached like 30% a year ago. And they have pumped hydro storage to balance out the intermittent renewables. But where they're trying to go, it's going to be incredibly challenging, because one of the main ways you handle the ups and downs of wind and solar is by interconnecting to other grids. So in Europe, it's windy in one part and not windy in another part. You can transport the energy from where it is to where it needs to be. Not in Madeira. You have it's all the power is produced here. So we anticipate that things are going to get very, very tricky as the percentage of renewables increase. Also, power is expensive here and subsidized by the EU. So it's a really unique situation. It's interesting to look at it. There's also considerable waste here in the form of biomass that potentially could become an energy resource. But what was most kind of instructive about it was just talking to people, meeting them where they were at, figuring out what the grid situation was here, whether Bitcoin mining would make sense. Probably not in the short term, given that the power is super expensive and subsidized. But also seeing the problems that are facing the grid in the long term on an island dealing with high penetration renewables, which is what the EU has targeted this island as a laboratory of renewable energy. Very, very difficult to pull off, and I predict in the future there will be excesses of power, believe it or not, even on an island that is short of power generally. There will be times of excess power and places of excess power because it's just so hard to do an island grid with renewables. And at that time, probably Bitcoin mining will make sense. Anyway, it was a privilege and an honor to be able to explore it with people and get them to see that maybe Bitcoin could be part of their solution rather than just another drain on the grid.
Yeah. So Pablo, what's next for you here? Like you talked about the next cohort here in May. Are there any further plans into the future?
Yeah, so we have the one in May, then another one in September and October. The first one is finishing today, actually. So we have at 3 p.m. we have on the workshop stage, everybody's going to demo some of the stuff that they've been working on. It's impossible to show all the stuff that's been worked on. So each one is going to pick one thing. And yeah, then for May, we are starting on the selection process and just going through the applications. And yeah, it's super inspiring seeing so many people willing to come here with, again, no promise. There is nothing behind it other than this is the process. If you think that it might suit you, come. Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. So I have no idea what's going to happen in May.
And also, it's important to remember, if you don't get selected, you can still come here.
Yeah, of course.
You can still build.
Yeah, actually, we've got a bunch of people that came for the beginning of the cohort. A lot of people that can't afford because of family commitments or a job or whatever it might be. They can't come for the full thing, so they came for a week or they came for 2 weeks. So we have some people that came at the very beginning, some people that came at the end, and we collaborated with a bunch of talks, went on a hike. The very last hike, it was, instead of 20 people, it was like 45 people. And yeah, it's insane, the amount of very productive conversations. One of the insights that we had is that each one of the people that was at the cohort, they are already super productive. So if we put them together, it's not more screen time what's going to make you more productive. It's less screen time and building the right thing. So there was a lot of conversation on discovering how do you build it right and how do you build it wrong? What is the right thing? What are the traits what are the characteristics of building the wrong thing or building it the wrong way?
Yeah, Jeff, what's your what's happening in the future, considering with Madeira for you? Any plans?
Yeah, I love this place, and as it becomes the island's beautiful, the people are beautiful, it's reasonably priced. It's I love this place.
That's
And-
the first time I heard you lie, Jeff. It's all about the poncho.
Yeah, and the poncho's great. We had too much poncho when we were here last time. Not so much this time. Lots last time. But when I think about places, so we can expect, and I'm doing everything I can to move more energy into the new system as fast as I can and try to get people to move with me. But we can expect that the existing system is going to get pretty chaotic, right? And we can expect out of that chaos that some nations are going to be acceptors and moving forward on this, and some nations are going to try to move and control. We can expect a collision of some of that, and the ones that are more free are going to attract people, because what do we do? What does any nation compete for all time? Labor and capital. Right, to have the best ideas, to have the best capital, to be able to build. And that's never changed. It's always the same. And so what we thought by doing this early, before this started happening, in fact, this was the talk with the president, that this is coming, right? And how do you build an economy from the ground up that looks so different so that you can attract that? This can become an oasis. And I'm not ready to leave Canada yet, because I'm very hopeful there's going to be a new leader who's a Bitcoiner. And I've done my best to be able to help make that happen as well. And all my family is there, and my friends are there, and my relationships are there, and everything else. But now I see more all over the world. So my family and my friends and my relationships are global, everywhere. And so I'm looking at different opportunities of where, if I need to go, I can go. And this would be one of those places. But even if I'm not here, I'm going to be visiting all the time.
All right, maybe we should ask the audience what they think. How many of you are considering coming back to Madeira again at some point? Almost everyone. So what if there was another Bitcoin Atlantis conference? Would you be coming back then? Hands up. And how many of you are considering moving here? Is that an option for how many?
Wow.
Look at that. We're building a citadel, aren't we?
Wow. Would you have guessed that?
This is a bit crazy, no?
Awesome. This was a big part of our experience, is that much of the conversation that we had when we made this original trip was about how awesome this island is, and how we had underestimated it in various ways. I mean, Jeff kind of listed the attributes, but also, it's just beautiful. The problem is the time zone difference between where Jeff and I live and this place, because we met for the last, year almost at 6:30 a.m. our time. It's kind of fitting that, I've been jet lagged and tired during this whole thing, because it's like, yes, this is my Madeira experience. This beautiful place, which is kind of a hazy dream that I come back to. No, it's gorgeous. If I could move here, I would.
So put that in perspective. Troy has woken up at 6:15 or 6 every Monday morning for a year to be able to help put this conference together. So kind of a round of applause.
And you too.
Yeah, we should start measuring time in blocks instead of time zones. That would solve the problem, right? All right, what are we going to do now? Questions from the audience, maybe? Does anyone have a question? Can we hear you?
I don't know they were prepared for that.
What was that? What
Well-
happened to Albuquerque? And I think you're not talking about the Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Well,
What happened to
what?
all right.
No, he's still supporting the initiative, of course. He was at the speaker's reception. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here because the timing was terrible with all that happened in the last few months. He's running again for elections, so it was hard for him to be here. But he supports the initiative nonetheless. I can't speak for him, of course, but that's what I know. No. That was a big misunderstanding. There was never this possibility to make it Bitcoin legal tender here. And actually, and this is my opinion, of course, Madeira is a semi-autonomous region. It's part of Portugal and part of Europe. We don't have the power to declare legal tender. So that was never a possibility. And honestly, you know, and my perspective here, again, my words, I'm a free market guy. I believe in the free market and free choice and freedom. Although I love the courage that Bukele had in El Salvador, making, you know, Bitcoin legal tender there on a sovereign nation, I don't think it's the correct approach, actually. I think we should skip the mandatory part and let the best money win in the free market. And Free Madeira is it's a independent, apolitical organization for education on this beautiful new protocol that, in my opinion, the free market will decide. I think it's already deciding. It's the best money ever. And it will win. But win as it should, not by mandatory decree.
Pablo.
Yeah, I think I fully agree with that. And if you look at the comparison of what happened in El Salvador and what's happening here, is that in El Salvador there was this mandate, which again takes a lot of courage to do it like that. But the adoption of Bitcoin is a lot on the transport layer of not using Visa, but then commerces, they end up going back to the dollar. Whereas here, the adoption is being a lot more bottoms up. And I don't know if we can talk number, but the merchants that are taking Bitcoin, for the very vast majority, they're keeping it in Bitcoin. They're not using it as a rail to move dollars. They're using Bitcoin. I think that is a testament to the two approaches and how they compare.
Yeah, and it was a surprise for us as well, because in the beginning I was not when we started Free Madeira, I was not very focused on the merchant adoption, because I was more focused on trying to build the community. I didn't want, you know, businesses accepting Bitcoin and then there was no regular payments. I didn't think it made sense, of course. But with the conference, we started, and shout out to Charlie, our open merchant rabbit from Venezuela. Amazing work is done on the last few months.
Charlie.
We started approaching more businesses, and I was totally surprised by the acceptance rate, just through the roof. And what you're saying as well. So they had the option of keeping the Bitcoin or exchanging to euros at the moment of sale, and most of them are keeping the Bitcoin. And now, with Charlie was involved in the conference. He was very busy. So we weren't, the last month, it could have increased a lot more because other businesses that we didn't approach are reaching out to us, putting their hands in the air saying, I want to be a part of this as well.
Throughout being here for the past few months, the amount of times I went to a shop and I ask if I can pay with Bitcoin, and they tell me no. And then I come the next week and they have the "we accept Bitcoin" sticker. It's insanity. I actually went to the osteopath 2 months ago. He only took cash, so I couldn't pay because I didn't have cash. And then when I visited again, he told me, "Oh, you prefer to pay in Bitcoin better?" And then he was spending the Bitcoin in Bitcoin accepting shops. It's pretty cool.
Let's say our first order of stickers it wasn't enough. We had to order more pretty soon.
So the thing to do, the proper way to tackle this is that if someone offers you fiat currency for your goods or services, you look offended and you say, "Did you just assume my legal tender?"
We tipped a lot of people in Bitcoin when we were here, and it was cool. And I strongly encourage everybody to do that. People don't refuse money, whether they have stickers or not. They generally like getting money.
All right. I think we need to wrap this panel up now. So big applause for everyone here on stage. And big applause to you. And Free Madeira lives on.